Welcome to My Zone Online School. My name is Linda Chipanga, and welcome to my friend. Today's lesson is grade 7 science. But before we start with our lesson, remember to put on your mask, and let's also sanitize our hands. Let's rub it through our fingers and around our hands. And also do not forget the social distance on the sides and to the front as well. Now, today's lesson is health education, sexuality, and sexual health. Please turn to page 23. Health education, sexuality, and sexual health. Now, let's quickly look at our competencies. Identify from diagrams the different stages of sexual development from infancy to old age. Investigate and report on different sources of information and support about sexual health and sexuality. Explain what constitutes sexual health, be it physical or emotional. Explain why sexual health is important. Now the vocabulary. Sexuality. Sexuality is the physical and emotional readiness for sexual intercourse. Sexual health. Being physically, mentally, socially healthy in relation to sexuality. Let's turn to page 24, where we have different diagrams or pictures on the stages of the human development. Now, on the chalkboard, we have different stages of sexual development. The first stage is a baby or infant, and then we have the childhood. The next stage is the adolescent, and the next stage will be the adulthood, as you can see, and the last stage is the old age. Now, let's move on to the sources of information and support about sexual health and sexuality. You know, as young children, as adolescents, you need to have information on sexual health and your sexuality. But your friends are not really that well equipped with information. So you need to visit different places that can offer you with good quality information. These places, we call them the sources of information on sexuality and sexual health. Now, these places are the clinics and hospitals, the Lifeline and Childline, the Women and Child Protection Unit. Now we are moving on to what constitutes sexual health, be it physical or emotional. What constitutes sexual health, you shouldn't only be physically healthy, be it you preventing yourself from getting STDs or sexually transmitted diseases. You should also have a positive and a respectful approach to sexuality and sexual relationships. That's basically what constitutes sexual health. Now, why is it important for you to be healthy sexually? So that you can live a happy life, to avoid getting infections, and to avoid unwanted pregnancies. Let's turn to page 25. On page 25, you can find your activity. This is activity 1. Number 1, identify the stages of sexual development from the diagrams below. You should just fill in the spaces provided. Number 2, explain why sexual health is important. I hope you have enjoyed this lesson. And please remember to sanitize your hands and always put on your mask. So goodbye.
Hi everyone, I'm Joshi. And make sure to always make a helicopter circle, stretching your arms out and spinning around like me. And make sure you're not touching anyone while doing this. Goodbye.
there, parents. Do you have primary school kids and want them to get extra quality supplementary lessons to up their grades? Then simply switch to One Africa TV's #LearnOn1, where your kids can get maths, English and science lessons every weekday from 9 to 11 a.m. with repeats from 2 to 4 p.m. And thanks to NMH's MyZone, these lessons are 100% Namibian. There's so much to learn with #LearnOn1. Invite learning in.
Hello, grade 7 learners. Welcome to my Zone online school. My name is Pietres Foto, and then I am joined by Pomwena. Let's welcome Pomwena. Okay, first of all, let's untie our hands. Then you make sure that we apply it properly, both inside and then also outside. And then even between the fingers. Thank you. From there, we make sure that we apply the social distance. And then we put on our mask, always. Okay. First, before we move on, I just want to tell you something. I understand that COVID-19 has closed our schools, but then that does not mean that it has closed our minds, not even our abilities. Therefore, I encourage you to keep up with your school. Make sure that every day you do something for which is related to school. Because you know that education is the greatest equalizer. Thank you. Okay, our today's lesson is based on Science Grade 7, Week 4, which will focus on sexuality and sexual health, STDs, HIV, and AIDS. As I have already said that our lesson for today will be based on sexuality and sexual health, STD and HIV and AIDS. I want all of us to turn at page 22 of our booklet, where we'll first focus or look at our competences. The first competence says that state 3 ways HIV is transmitted, and then 3 ways it is not transmitted. And then the second one, it says that state that no one knows for sure where HIV and AIDS came from, but that they affect all kinds of people all over the world. And then the second last competence says that a learner in grade 7 must be able to explain that there is no cure yet for HIV and AIDS, but there are life-prolonging treatment. And then the last competence says that discuss the myth and taboos around HIV and AIDS. Wonderful. From here, we are moving on to our vocabulary words, or to say to our new words for the lesson. The first one, it says that you must know what is a myth. So we are saying that a myth means untrue belief, or just to say, these are stories which are not true, just fake news. And then the second one, it says taboos. By definition, it says taboo is something that people cannot talk about because they feel it may be considered as disrespectful, embarrassing, or unacceptable in the community. Okay, from here, I want all of us to move on to page 23, where we are going to start with our today's lesson. On page 23, it says that you must be able to state at least even 3 ways HIV is not transmitted. So, the ways in which HIV is not transmitted, we speak by, it says state 3 ways HIV is transmitted. The ways in which HIV is transmitted, we speak about through sexual intercourse, or to be so specific by saying through unprotected sexual intercourse. The other way, it says through blood contact, and then the last one, which is given to us, it says from mother to child during birth. All of us, you can see, even in the pictures which are on top there, as it says through sexual intercourse, you can see that the picture shows people that are involved in sexual intercourse, and then if there is no condom which is used, and then one of them is infected with the virus, it means that the other person will also be infected. And then the second one, which says, through blood contact, we can see that in the hand, there is something that looks like red. So we are saying that that is the blood. So if our bloods happen to come into contact and then one of us is infected with the virus, it means that both of us will become positive. And then the last one shows a person who is pregnant, and then as you said, HIV is transmitted from mother to child during birth, meaning that if the mother is HIV positive, there is a possibility that the child will also become or will also be positive, or to say having HIV and AIDS. From there we are moving on to what? To ways in which HIV is not transmitted. So there are many ways in which HIV is not transmitted. The first one, we are saying that by shaking hands. So meaning that even if you happen to hear that someone is HIV positive, don't refuse to shake hands with that person, because shaking hands doesn't transmit the virus. However, I advise you that when you are shaking hands, you make sure that you don't have a wound. Or to say, both of you don't have wounds at your hands, because if you have wounds, that can result into blood contact. And then the next way in which HIV is not transmitted, we speak about eating together. So, meaning that even if you know that one of your housemates is HIV positive, don't refuse to eat with that person just because that you're afraid of getting the virus. Eating together doesn't transmit the virus. Another one, it says by kissing each other. So meaning that when you are kissing the person or your partners, it doesn't transmit HIV or to say the virus. However, we are warned that make sure that you don't have an open cut on your lips, or to say you don't have a wound on your lips, because if the two of you have wounds on your lips, that can result in the transmission of the virus. And then the second last, which is given to us, it says swimming together, meaning that if you are just in a swimming pool, and then even if you know that the person that you are swimming together is HIV positive, that will not make you to become positive also. And then the last one, which is given to us, it says insect bite. So meaning that even if you happen to, even if a certain insect, let me speak about a mosquito. If it bites you, it will not transmit this virus, which is called HIV and then AIDS. Okay, so from here we are moving on to page 24. On page 24, it says that as a learner in grade 7, you must be able to state that no one knows for sure where HIV and AIDS came from, but that they affect all kinds of people all over the world. What does this mean? It means that HIV and AIDS does not discriminate people. It infects people of any kind, regardless of gender, sex, race, ethnicity, age, financial status, or educational status. So meaning that don't say that you are HIV will not be able to infect you. So be careful that it doesn't discriminate people. It infects all kinds of people. No matter who you are, you'll just get this virus. And then the second last thing that we need to know in today's lesson, it says that we must be able to explain that there is no cure yet for HIV and AIDS, but there are life-prolonging treatments. What does it mean? It means that there is no cure yet for HIV and AIDS, but there are some medicine for life-prolonging treatments, which are called the antiretroviral, or to say ARV, for treating HIV infection and then to prevent it from becoming AIDS. So meaning that after getting or after being HIV positive, it doesn't mean that you just die so fast. There are some life-prolonging medicines that will just help you so that this HIV doesn't turn into AIDS. But then after all, there is no cure for this virus. And then the last thing that you need to know in today's lesson, it says that you must be able to discuss the myth and then the taboos around HIV and then AIDS. Okay, as I have already said in our vocabulary word, I spoke about the myth and then the taboos. If you can remember well, we said myth are untruth belief, or to say these are just stories which are not true. And then we say that a taboo is something that people cannot talk about because they feel it may be considered as disrespectful or embarrassing or unacceptable. So we are then moving on to the myth. As it says, we must be able to discuss the myth and then taboos around HIV and AIDS. Since it's a discussion, let's go through about it. Then it says, there have been a lot of myths and then taboos that spread about HIV and AIDS over the years. These myths and then taboos are as follows. Number one can be, having sex with a virgin can cure HIV and AIDS. So that's the first myth which is given to us. So if someone happened to come to you as a virgin, and then the person tells you that since you're a virgin, can you do sexual intercourse with you so that that person will be cured? So it's not right, it's a myth. So don't do it. And then the second myth says that HIV and AIDS turn your skin lighter. So meaning that it doesn't mean that if you happen to find a person who is light, who is having a light skin, is HIV positive. No, it's not. That's already a myth. And then the second last myth, it says that you can get HIV and AIDS by even sharing spoons, knife, and then other things. So don't start saying that since one person in your house is HIV positive, then you'll stop maybe using sharing a knife or whatever it is. It doesn't spread like that. That's already a myth. And then the last one, it says that AIDS patients are always thin. This is a myth also. Some of us have believed that whoever is thin, that person is HIV positive. It's a myth. Not everyone who is thin has the virus. And then we say that we need to be aware of this myth and then taboos because wrong information is dangerous and then can lead to the further spreading of HIV and AIDS. And then please, you must take note. And B, these are all false stories. Wait, and then I see somewhere that we need to do some changes or to say correction. Where it's written bad myth, we must say, however, it says, these are all false stories that were meant to mislead the nation, especially people that are easily convinced. Meaning that if you are one of those people that can be convinced so fast, or to say, if you are one of those people that believe so fast, then you'll end up finding yourself into problems. In conclusion, today we have spoken about the different ways in which HIV is transmitted and then also some ways in which HIV is not transmitted. And then we say that HIV is transmitted from mother to child during birth. And then another way it says HIV is transmitted through blood contact. And then the last one that we have looked at, we say that it transmits through sexual intercourse. And then the different ways in which HIV is not transmitted, we speak about shaking hands, swimming together, eating together, kissing, and then many more. And then the other thing that we have looked at, we have also spoken that HIV and AIDS does not discriminate people. So meaning that you must be aware that no matter how rich you are or who you are, HIV can still infect you. Whether you are tall, short, or whatever person you are, HIV does not discriminate. And then the second last thing that we have looked at, we say that yet there is no cure for HIV and AIDS. There are only some medicines which are called the antiretroviral, or to say ARV, that are used to treat people that are infected, not really to treat, just to help out people that are infected by the virus, and then just to help them, and then just to help this virus from not turning or becoming AIDS. And then the last thing that we have looked at, we have looked at myth and then the taboos around HIV and AIDS. And then we said some of these myths can be having sexual intercourse can cure this virus, or to say can cure HIV and AIDS. And then another myth, and then some other myth that we have looked at, we say that HIV patients, they are always thin, and then their skins are lighter. And then you say that all those ones are myth. Okay, before we call it a day, I want us to go on page 25, where we are going to look at some questions, and then we are going to get answers for these questions. Okay, let's start. Question number 1. It says that state 3 ways in which HIV is transmitted. Number 2, state 3 ways in which HIV is not transmitted. And then lastly, it says that discuss myths and then taboos around HIV and AIDS. I am hoping that most of us, if not all of us, will be able to get the right answers for these questions. Or otherwise, if you don't get them right, I encourage you to go through and then listen to the video once more. Thank you. I'm hoping that you have enjoyed our lesson. Let's not forget to sanitize our hands every time. And then as we are sanitizing our hands, we make sure that we are applied properly, both inside and then also at the back of our hands, and then also between our hands, and then we maintain the social distance, we put on our mask. And then as I have already said it earlier, I said that even though our schools are closed because of COVID-19, this does not mean that we must close our minds also, or we must close our abilities. We must still keep on pushing. We must still keep on doing our schoolwork. Then I encourage everyone that each and every day you do your schoolwork and then you put more effort. I thank you, and then enjoy your day. Bye.
Hi everyone, I'm Josie and I'm back. Even though the schools are closed, I thought about we can still do online classes, learning and reading. You can also do your schoolwork. Until next time, bye!
Humanitarian crises are all too familiar to television viewers. Civil wars that cause huge movements of refugees, worldwide pandemics, and natural disasters like earthquakes and tsunamis. This is the way most of us are used to seeing these heart-wrenching events, on a screen in front of us, watching passively. But what if you could step into the frame and actually feel what it's like for the individuals on the ground?
People come out of it feeling enlightened and often moved and often ready to take action. A lot of people automatically say, well, what can I do? How can I get involved?
Garbo Aurora is leading a team at the United Nations who are using cutting-edge technology to raise awareness, empathy and funds, both to respond to humanitarian crises and to bolster support for a new set of sustainable development goals around the globe.
Virtual reality is the ability to really take part in a story that usually you're only a passive spectator on. And you actually get the sensation of feeling like you're being there.
By using multiple cameras that can record in all directions and software that can stitch the images together, virtual reality creates an experience that enables the viewer to see a movie from every angle, above, below, and behind.
It's exciting for the UN, to be involved in some of those early experiments of how we're trying to tell stories, make these films, and work with some of the most cutting-edge people in the industry on it.
So the UN reached out to us and connected, and we realized that there was a great opportunity here to tell some very important stories and to tell them in a way that we thought would be totally new and highly impactful. The way that I define virtual reality at this point in time is basically the hacking of your senses to convince you that you're somewhere other than where you are. Often, I think of it as a sense of vulnerability. So one of the things we've realized in some of our stories is you have a heightened sense of empathy and a heightened sense of connection as a result of that vulnerability.
That heightened sense of connection and empathy was exactly what Gabo Aurora was looking to create at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. Not only to inspire leaders to take action, but also to influence donors to increase funding for disaster response efforts.
I'd started experimenting with using innovative ways of advocacy, and I started talking to a lot of different partners and people. What could we do that would be incredible? And someone said, you know, I just came from a meeting at Samsung, and, you know, with some of these other virtual reality headsets, wouldn't it be amazing if you got all of those elite people who could actually go to a refugee camp, or they could go to an Ebola clinic? I just really felt it would get our issues highlighted.
In addition to the screenings at Davos, virtual reality portals have been set up to view the films at high-level political forums around the world. The virtual reality film on display was Clouds over Sidra.
Clouds over Sidra is a short film in virtual reality about a girl named Sidra who lives in Zatari camp, which is a Syrian refugee camp in Jordan. And it is a story about a young girl who is giving you a tour of the camp, of what it's like, what her life is like. When the film debuted in Davos, it was a sensation to everyone we showed it to. They come out of it very deeply moved. I'd say half the people who watch Clouds over Sidra cry. And then we cut a version for UNICEF where it's face-to-face fundraisers. The way they do that is usually in Europe or in different countries. So they thought, well, what if we got people to experience virtual reality on the street?
Quite sad. They don't have a good environment to stay. We try our best to help them.
Early reporting from UNICEF has shown that when using virtual the effectiveness of their fundraising efforts. This report is used by Ben Lybrand for the United Nations.
My name is Mona. I'm a physiotherapist, and physical interaction is limited. Exercise is more important than ever. Exercise to improve your lung function.